So ICE came to my neighborhood last week, and I talked to one of my neighbors who they harassed. And I want to tell you that story in a minute. But this clip of an ICE agent pointing his gun at people reflects the terror, the shock, the horror that so many of us in LA are feeling right now. And what I really hope you understand is ICE isn't just terrorizing undocumented people, it's citizens. It's everyone in the city. And that fear inflicts almost half of Los Angeles because 48% of the city is Latin or Hispanic. And because of how reckless these federal agents are during these raids, even children are getting swept up.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to denounce the ICE raids in Southern California carried out this past weekend and the President's unilateral decision to deploy the National Guard and now the Marines. The President claims to be going after violent criminals, but in reality, ICE is rounding up individuals off the street with no warrants, including children. Local and state law enforcement did not ask for assistance. Donald Trump is escalating the situation and making it more dangerous for everyone. Just today, he said the National Guard is preventing the violence on the streets, and that's a flat-out lie. The National Guard is standing on the sidelines watching as local law enforcement handles the situation. Now he's sending in the Marines. This is not the mission of the Marines. They're not trained for this. Sending them on ICE raids will only provoke confrontation. The President is playing with the lives of Californians, and the military is the pawn in his political game. He wants to create a conflict that will allow him to invoke the Insurrection Act or martial law. God only knows why. But California will never ever bend to the will of a tyrant.
So let's talk about my neighbor. He was outside working in his yard. His dog started to chase the mailman, so he went after the dog. He said at that time, multiple unmarked cars were driving down another road. They saw him and did a U-turn. My friend and I were asking him, why do you think they targeted you? He's a younger Hispanic guy with lots of tattoos. And he said that is exactly why he thinks they came after him. He's documented. He has every right to be here. But despite that, just by being outside, being Latin American, and having tattoos, federal agents swarmed on his house and harassed him. They demanded to see his paperwork. They demanded to know his name. I first learned of this when a video from the Ring camera above their garage was sent around on social media. Seeing that it was in my neighborhood, I went to go check it out. He was still outside and still shaken up by it. But his case is not unique. Every single day, I see a new video on social media from someone in the city who is being harassed, or somebody witnessing federal agents harassing people. In some cases, they are being detained and then ultimately deported. To where? Who knows? Do they have family where they're being sent? Do they have anything waiting for them where they're being sent? Nobody knows. And the Trump administration does not care. They are completely ruining lives, upending families, tearing families apart across this city. And even if you served this country, they'll still deport you.
Syed Nasser served as a civilian interpreter for the U.S. military in Afghanistan for 3 years before a company he started with his brother provided anti-mining support to an American military contractor. He says that when his family was not a part of the 80,000 Afghans airlifted from Kabul when the U.S. withdrew from the country, there was a target on his back. In fact, the Taliban, he says, killed his brother, and then they abducted his father at a family wedding. And after that, Syed fled, coming to the United States last year, seeking asylum and a special immigrant visa. But last week at a courthouse in San Diego, Syed was detained by ICE after a mandatory immigration parole hearing. He's now in a California detention center for expedited removal from the United States.
He never expected that he was going to come here and be put in prison. So that's really disturbing, as it should be.
DHS says they have no record of him doing any of the work that he says he's done. There's no record to show that he assisted the U.S. government, they say, in any capacity. They're saying that he was unvetted and that he shouldn't be here. Do you have those records? I mean, this is going to be before a judge. Do you have those records?
Yes, I have those records, and actually so does the court. That's already all been filed. So it baffles me for the government to say that they have no records.
What message does that send to anybody around the world? Why should you trust the US government? Why should you help the US military? If you're a translator to support the US military and they will still deport you after that war, why would you work with them? Why would anyone trust them? And what's most appalling is the government is lying about his record. His lawyer already submitted documents to the court proving that he was a translator for the military. But the Trump administration will lie in court to deport somebody. It's all a numbers game to them. There's no human humanity in any of this. It's just pure unbridled barbarism. The right wants to frame this all around criminals. And a new piece of data from a right-wing think tank proves them wrong. But first, take a look at this.
Democrats won't stop fighting to keep illegals in our country. Like New York Governor Kathy Hochul, she's even setting aside a whopping $50 million to help them out.
We're also concerned about those that are walking out of this courthouse, taken away from their families. They don't have the attention. They don't have the lawyers. And that's why the state of New York is providing $50 million to cover legal services for people who are finding themselves in this situation.
And Florida Congressman Maxwell Frost, he wants to go further.
I want to be clear. Being undocumented in this country is not a crime. My Republican colleagues who say, I don't want any undocumented people in this country, I actually agree with you. So let's document every single one of them with a speedy path to citizenship. That's how we fix this problem.
I'll continue to ask the Democrats, who are they really defending? They're defending the rapists, the gang members, the TDA, MS-13 gang members who go out and wreak havoc in the American people's communities, whether it's the rapists or traffickers, and they continue to defend these people, but they're not what the American people want in their communities.
I think Maxwell Frost makes a really good point. If you're worried about undocumented people here, fix the system. They want to come here, they want to contribute, they're not committing crimes. Fix the broken immigration system that allows them to obtain documentation. When Republicans refuse to fix a broken system like that, which they have for years, it shows it's not about documentation, it's about keeping people out. And that's where you get to the root of this. This is white nationalism. It's not about process, it's not about citizenship or documentation, it is about kicking people out who are not white. But the right wants you to believe it's about cracking down on criminals.
The Cato Institute is drawing attention to how the Trump administration's deportation efforts are affecting people who aren't violent criminals. According to their report, ICE had booked over 204,000 individuals into detention as of June 14th. Of those, 65% had no criminal convictions. More than 93% had never been convicted of a violent offense. About 9 in 10 had no convictions for violent or property crimes at all. Cato says that more than half of all convictions fell into 3 main categories: immigration violations, traffic offenses, or non-violent vice crimes.
You may be familiar with the Cato Institute. It's a prominent right-wing think tank. They just published a new study that found that ICE has arrested over 1,000% more non-criminal immigrants than they did in 2017. Look at this data. It is a straight line up. That's who they're going after. They're not going after criminals. And while the right can try to scaremonger over the most heinous crimes in society, this is the reality. They are simply terrorizing people who don't have the right paperwork. These people are doing nothing but trying to contribute to society. That's why they're targeting day laborers. That's why they're targeting blue-collar workers. They're not going after criminals. Some people who have been accused or convicted of crimes might get caught up in this dragnet, and then ICE turns around and uses them as examples, as figureheads, to try to cast every single person they've apprehended as a criminal. I want you to understand that is not true, and that is not the reality. That's not what we're seeing in Los Angeles. That's not what you will see in Chicago and New York when they expand there. It's important that you know and share the truth. If you liked this video, if you found it useful, send it to a friend, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching.